Okay, good morning, everyone. It's a thinner crowd this morning. Everyone's in front of their computers out front, just refreshing, aren't they? Just hitting refresh again and again. Great. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the United Nations Biodiversity Conference here in Montreal, Canada. I'm David Ainsworth, Head of Communications for the United Nations Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity. Today is December the 18th. We are nearing the end of the meeting. So we are expecting the release of the presidential text any minute. So as I said, I'm sure all of you outside are refreshing your screens. I will refresh my screen over the course of this meeting to see when it's available here. The presidential text will be released. It is meant to be a compromise document that will be set the pace for negotiations going forward. There will be a heads of delegation meeting from 1 p.m. onwards to discuss the presidential text. That will be the heads of delegation plus one other person. Please note, all of you in the room and all of you online, that this is a closed meeting and representatives of the media are not permitted to enter, sneak in, or listen at the door. So we'll wait for that coming on forwards, and I'll talk more about the pace that's going on. The budget group will be meeting all day long and to review the cost implications of the latest draft decisions. Yesterday, a working group 1 met. We had a contact group on the financial mechanism. That's agenda item 12B. That was held in the afternoon from 3 to 6. There was really good progress made on the area. They may need one more session today to finalize additional guidance to go on. The contact group on mainstreaming also met yesterday afternoon. They concluded its work with reviewing additional paragraphs that contained brackets. So they cleared a number of the brackets, although there were still some matters of figuring out the way forward for the long-term action plan on mainstreaming, the LTAM, and also the question of an ad hoc technical expert group on that. Note that mainstreaming is an important principle for implementation of the Global Biodiversity Framework and others. Mainstreaming means bringing the notions, contexts, importance of biodiversity into another number of other sectors which aren't typically engaged in the biodiversity agenda. So that is still moving forward. We also had the working group 1 met last night. I was there late as well, from 7 p.m. to 11:40 p.m. They adopted conference room papers on subnational governments, cities, and other local authorities. So that's the question of engaging below the national level, and that is now an L document to be adopted. There was a discussion on cooperation, which means cooperation with UN agencies, multilateral environment agreements as well. So that's getting ready to move forward. The working group adopted a gender plan of action last night. So the convention, historically, when it finally approves it in the plenary, will have a gender plan of action moving forward to affect the work of the convention. And this makes us unusual with regard to a number of other multilateral environment agreements. And the working group also agreed a paper on communications, so the communication strategy moving forward for the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. The working group has not finished their work. They still need to review a paper on knowledge management and the clearinghouse mechanism. They have to review the financial mechanism, that's 12B, and the mainstreaming of biodiversity. So that working group presumably will have a meeting sometime this afternoon. We're trying to fit things in forward. Just letting you know is that the plan so far is to have a plenary at 6 p.m. And the notion is that plenary, at a minimum, will adopt the existing L documents that are already there. You'll note on the website there are a lot of those to be adopted. I guess I can say maybe we need to set up a betting pool somewhere along the line. Someone put up a wall on the corner. If indeed the text moving forward is agreed, then they would possibly adopt that again late tonight. That's a possibility, but like I said, it's like a roulette wheel. We'll see how it goes. If not, there'll be another decision tomorrow. Certainly, there will be a plenary tomorrow morning, one way or the other, because there's a lot of business going to happen. So we're not done this meeting yet, even in the late hours. But I do have to caution everybody, as there may indeed be a late session coming up. The plans for tomorrow will be determined over the course of today, so we will try to keep you briefed here in the room and also on the email channels as well. Okay, I'm going to refresh again. You guys also refresh too and see what we've got. We're waiting for clearance from the presidency on that document. And I'm looking now. Are they cheering over there? Is that the cheering sounds for? I don't see it yet. I don't see it. Okay, so let me take a few questions. This is really short this morning. That's fine, because we all need to just look at what's on the go for anything else. Okay, I'll start with my glasses on first of all. Start right here in the front row. Thank you.
Bonjour, juste détail.
Just a detail. When will we know when the discussion will be extended?
We know if there's going to be an extension of the meeting here. Under the convention, we talk about a principle called adaptive management, which is to say that you change your management criteria based on changes to information in the situation. And so that's my answer. It's adaptive management. I'll see how things go. I think a lot of it will hinge on the nature of the discussions in the heads of delegation meetings and their reaction to the compromise text and how it moves forward. Is it something that can be resolved or looked at quickly, or does it need more discussions? So I've been doing this for many years. This is, I think, my 8th COP now, and everyone is different. I never know. Thanks. Next question. I'll take it back over here.
Thank you, Natasha from Nature. It's just a clarification. If at the plenary they adopt the existing L documents, does that mean that those documents, those parts of the framework are agreed and done and dusted, and that's firm, or is there still movement on that?
So a couple of things just to be aware is the L documents that you see on the website now, the ones that are ready to be adopted, are not in fact necessarily part of the agreement. I think there's one document related to the monitoring framework that constitutes part of it, but the others are other decisions of the Conference of the Parties, and once they're adopted in the plenary, they are official decisions of the convention. So in fact, I think it was last week, we already had about 23 different decisions for the convention and the protocols that were adopted, and so those are official decisions. So you'll have to remember that this meeting has got the existing agenda and matters, and then there's the big package, which is the Global Biodiversity Framework and its associated mechanisms. So the framework, the resource mobilization strategy, digital sequence information, monitoring framework, all of that as well. But once the plenary adopts an L document, it is a decision of the Conference of the Parties. So yes, thanks. Another question over here.
And at today's plenary, can we expect countries to state their position on the new documents? Or?
So I think as far as negotiation goes, typically that negotiation happens before you get to the plenary. So the heads of delegations meeting will be important. It is entirely possible that in the closing plenary, parties will still be outlining positions. But if that is the case, then you can see a very long plenary because it is very cumbersome to negotiate anything in a plenary setting. So I think the notion is that it would be more important to have a lot of those other discussions and matters taking place outside of that setting. Thanks. I'll go to this side. Anybody on this side of the room? No, they're quiet. Anywhere else from this side of the room? No questions. Okay. Oh, no, in the back. Question right in the back there, please. So you're going to get 3 microphones now.
Just to clarify, so there is a chance that they could adopt the Global Biodiversity Framework text, this new text that we're expecting, that could get adopted tonight in the plenary, you're saying?
It is entirely possible, yes. That's one of the many scenarios that are put. They could adopt it tonight, but then the meeting would continue with its other business further on. So,
but in terms of the big news,
it could possibly be that adoption tonight.
And done and dusted.
Yeah, once that's adopted, that's done and dusted. It's finished indeed. So we'll see. And just to let you know, I mean, I've got to discuss with a number of other actors here in terms of what we do for our closing press conference. When does that take place? And then further, just letting you know, we are exploring the notion of having a technical briefing on the framework because our typical press conference here are very high level. And as you know, getting into the details of the framework may not be possible, but I'll be working on the possibility of getting someone here so that we can indeed have a technical briefing on the framework so that you can really drill down to some of those elements. Part of that does come down to the members of our team, if they will still be standing or conscious by the time the framework is adopted. Another question there? Hi, thanks.
Just a technical question on this text. Is it a presidency text? Just technically, what exactly is it?
Right, so it is a president's text, and what it means is that the presidency, in consultation with the regions and with the secretariat, looked at the papers that were released yesterday. So those were the non-papers that you would have all taken a look at. They looked at the outstanding issues, and they were sought to identify a path forward that is both ambitious, but also represents a compromise between the areas. So the text that you will see represents the movement of the presidency to achieve this realistic, ambitious, and transformative agenda within the context context of the existing balance of political opinions and consensus. So, but it is a president's text, but note that the presidencies, all presidencies are different. This one has been worked very well in terms of ensuring that consultation has been made with a number of different actors. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to do one last refresh up here. Maybe someone else can refresh too. Oh, Corinne told me. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Under COP 15, under the plenary documents, we have the draft of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. I invite all of you to go to your desks and start looking at that. Thanks very much, everybody. Briefing's over.